Hi, and welcome to today's Daily Chronicle. Today is Thursday, May 1st, 2025. Mohsen Madawi, the Columbia student arrested at his citizenship appointment, speaks. Mohsen Madawi sits for a picture at the Northwest State Correctional Facility in St. Albans, Vermont, on April 28th. The April 14th detention of Columbia University student Mohsen Madawi was caught on video as he flashed a peace sign. While being taken from an immigration office in Colchester, Vermont. He told NPR's Morning Edition he had arrived thinking an interview there would be his final step to becoming a U.S. citizen after 10 years of living and learning in the United States. Instead, he's sitting for a naturalization interview and signing a document pledging allegiance to the U.S. and to protecting and defending the Constitution. He was arrested by masked agents in Homeland Security jackets. In the first media interview with any of the Trump administration student detainees, all at risk of deportation, Madawi spoke to Layla Fadel in the Northwest State Correctional Facility in St. Albans, Vermont, where he is waiting a court hearing Wednesday in a petition that argues government officials violated his First Amendment right to free speech and his right to due process. Before the interview, he said he had been meditating to find calm, as he does every day. I am centered internally. I am at peace. While I still know deeply that this is a level of injustice that I am facing, I have faith. I have faith that justice will prevail, said Madawi. Who co-founded Columbia's Palestinian Student Union and was president of the Columbia University Buddhist Association. Madawi, a lawful permanent U.S. resident who grew up in Palestinian refugee camp in the occupied West Bank, is among multiple international students facing deportation, ostensibly over their advocacy on several campuses against Israel's war in Gaza. His lawyers are arguing in federal court in Vermont that Madawi was detained in retaliation for his speech advocating for Palestinian human rights, and that his arrest and detention are part of a policy intended to silence and chill the speech of those who advocate for Palestinian human rights. The Justice Department Monday submitted a new court filings that included a 2-page letter from Secretary of State Marco Rubio that the activities and presence of Madawi in the United States undermines U.S. policy to combat anti-Semitism. It added that protests like those Madawi led at Columbia potentially undermine the peace process underway in the Middle East. Where efforts for a ceasefire have stalled. Right now, some 59 hostages taken from Israel are still being held by Hamas in Gaza. About half are believed dead, according to Israel. Meanwhile, Israel has been withholding aid from Gaza for 8 weeks, and Palestinians are going hungry as they endure daily attacks. Monday's court filings did not provide any evidence for the accusations against Madawi in the letter, including those of threatening rhetoric and intimidation. Of pro-Israeli bystanders. The government argues that the federal court in Vermont should not grant Madawi's request for release because it does not have jurisdiction in foreign policy matters. The Department of Homeland Security did not respond to NPR's request for comment. In response to the court filings, Madawi's lawyer Luna Drorby said the accusations in the letter are completely false. Madawi has been very vocal in his opposition to anti-Semitism. Mr. Madawi is a person of complete and full principle who believes in the human dignity of every person, she told NPR. The government just scraping at the bottom of the barrel to try to find something. Anything that is simply leading to punishment of students for the advocacy of Palestinian rights. The following interview was lightly edited for length and clarity. On his confidence that justice will prevail. First of all, seeing the people of Vermont the people in the United States raising their voices, saying this is unjust and we don't accept it, gives me faith. Second, I believe in a system of democracy, and I have faith in the justice system here. And the last one, which is the most important to me, what gives me faith is seeing the resilience and the strength in my people in Gaza. After all the pain and destruction and the genocide that they went through, they still hold on hope and they have strong faith. Note, Madawi calls what is happening in Gaza a genocide. It's also what Israel and international human rights groups like B'Tselem, the Israeli Information Center for Human Rights in the Occupied Territories, and Amnesty International have deemed Israel's response in Gaza after Hamas attacked Israel. The 2023 assault killed 1,200 people, and Hamas took 251 hostages, according to the Israeli government. Israel denies the accusation of genocide. On a decade of experiencing American liberties, before coming to this country, freedom was just a concept, but the actual experience of freedom to travel among 50 states, freedom to breathe the breeze of the ocean and feel your toes in the sand. This is the first place that I have experienced this freedom of speech, where I will not be actually retaliated against or punished for saying my mind. Do I still feel this way? I think it's in jeopardy. I think this is a red flag. Not only to me, but to the American people who care about freedom. The right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I have the hope that this country will fulfill its promise. On the day he was detained, when I get the appointment, the first thing was, is this a trap or is it legit? And I realized directly that I am dealing with two extreme opposite poles. One is becoming a citizen with full rights, and the other is being detained and having no rights. I see the risk. I see the opportunity. And I want the American people to see this too, to see this level of injustice. That I am doing everything legally, that I have prepared and studied for the Constitution, that I went willingly and respected the law, did everything the way it's supposed to be done. On his First Amendment case, when I speak of injustice, I remember Martin Luther King when he says injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And the injustice that I am facing here, and the injustice that the anti-war movement is facing, is also connected to the injustice that the Palestinian people are going through. We're talking about 55,000 people have been killed. We see children being killed, amputated, losing their parents, no homes. This is what's moving us. And when I signed on the Pledge of Allegiance, I signed to protect and defend the Constitution. I am practicing here my constitutional rights, not to call for any destruction of anyone, not to fight anyone. I'm saying we need peace, and we need to stop the war, and we want children, all children, to live in peace without fear and without trauma. Note: Gaza health officials say more than 52,000 people have been killed since October 7th, 2023. On the government's allegations that his continued presence in the U.S. would have adverse consequences on foreign policy, and that he allegedly advocated for violence, glorified and supported terrorists, and harassed Jews. The government is gaslighting the American people, and especially the American Jewish communities. In fact, we had so many Jews and Israelis who actually joined us in saying ceasefire now. So they are actually weaponizing anti-Semitism in order to destroy the hope that this America has. Which is universities and liberal institutions. They are part of the checks and balances, actually, of this country, of any democracy. On his hopes of becoming an American citizen. Do I want to still be an American? I have showed my will, my desire to become an American. In a place that I call home in Vermont. And the American government has denied me this opportunity by setting me up, actually deceiving me. So now it's up to the American people to decide what path they would like to take on. Whether to have a path where they welcome me as a citizen of this country or not. And I also want to remind everybody that the definition of the government in the Constitution, we know the people, and I am counting on the people who I've got the chance to know as kind-hearted, good people to stand up for what is right. After the segment aired, Tricia McLaughlin, Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs at the Department of Homeland Security, responded to our request for comment. She said, "It is a privilege to be granted a visa or green card to live and study in the United States of America, where you advocate for violence, glorify, and support terrorists that relish the killing of Americans and harass Jews. That privilege should be revoked, and you should not be in this country." The tricky etiquette of parenting in public. What do you do if your toddler steals a child's toy at a play date, has a tantrum in the supermarket, gets pushed by a kid at the park? These are common behaviors for toddlers and preschoolers who are still learning how to act around others and regulate their emotions. But for many parents, these moments are a struggle to manage, especially when they happen outside the routine and comforts of home. We sometimes feel on the spot when we're in public, says Selena Benavides, a developmental psychologist and a professor at the Oxnard College in California. We feel the judgmental eyes from other people, and that can shape how we parent and how children might respond to us. So how should parents address their kids' challenging behavior in public? Benavides answers 5 questions from NPR listeners, and she shares what they can do to prevent these scenarios from happening in the future. 1. The last time I was at the grocery store, my toddler started screaming in the middle of the produce section. I could feel the eyes of other customers on us and worried they thought I was a bad parent. What can I do to calm down my kid down in those moments? Pause. Take a deep breath. Yes, these moments can feel triggering, but Benavides says our children will respond more calmly if we ourselves are calm. Make eye contact, get on their level, and keep your voice even. Sometimes, young children melt down because they want agency in a situation. Benavides says, so try to distract them by giving them choices. You might say, do you want to grab that onion, or do you want to grab it and you can carry it? Other times, they melt down because they're tired or overstimulated. Benavides says, if you can't simply pack up and leave the supermarket, find a quieter area where fewer people are around. A little privacy can help your child by reducing stimulation and shelter you, the parent, from the watchful eyes of others. 2. I'm a mom to an active, outgoing 3-year-old, and I'm terrified whenever we have to fly anywhere. On a plane, it seems like we're trapped, and it's embarrassing and overwhelming to be the one in charge of the kid having a meltdown on the plane. The last time we flew, a well-intended stranger suggested that our child was screaming because she didn't respect us. A new level of humiliation for us. How should I respond to this stranger? It's okay to verbalize a boundary with people commenting on your parenting by saying, thanks for your suggestion, but this is how I'm going to do it. Or simply say, yeah, we're having a hard moment, says Benavides. But you only have so much energy, and the child Oh, and the most important thing is to focus on helping your child navigate a difficult situation, she says. You're not going to do everything perfectly, and neither will your child, and that's okay. 3. At the park recently, a boy came up behind my 2-year-old son and smacked him on the back of the head just so he could climb the stairs before he did. Then he pinched and pulled my son's arm. The parents were right there, but they didn't say anything or apologize. We ended up just leaving the park. What else could I have done? It's always okay to simply remove your child from situations that don't feel safe, says Benavides. But if you choose to engage, focus first on the child who was harmed. Voice what just happened. Benavides says you might say, that doesn't look like it felt good. I can see that you're upset. Do you want to talk about it? Then move on to the child doing the harm. You might say, it looks like the other child didn't feel good about what happened. What can we do? The goal in this situation is to help the children repair the relationship and play together in a healthy way rather than just separate them, says Benavides. Finally, debrief with your child afterward, she says. Start a conversation about the incident by saying, I noticed this happened at the park earlier. That was a hard moment. This can help them process their feelings and in a calmer environment while showing them you're there for safety and reassurance. 4. A few weeks ago, my 18-month-old son was at a kid's party, and he did something I was not prepared for. He grabbed an older child's shirt, then stole a dump truck toy from his hand. The other child started crying. My son looked on, confused, but didn't give the dump truck back. Should I have intervened? As long as you're not concerned for either child's safety, your role is to help your kid figure out how to name and resolve the dilemma on their own. But Benavides recommends pausing before jumping in. And if you do need to intervene, label what you're seeing and ask questions. For example, Benavides says, you might say, I see we only have one toy and both of you want it. What can we do? If needed, prompt them to think about a solution. What if we try taking turns? What would that look like? By giving them an opportunity to come up with ideas on their own, you're creating a teaching moment. I'm terrified to take my child to the store because I know she's going to want me to buy her a toy, then have a meltdown when I say no. What can I do to avoid this situation in the future? Before you go, decide what boundary to set. Then describe what's going to happen in a way that gives your child something to look forward to. Benavides suggests telling your child, we're going shopping. There will be lots of toys there, and you can only pick something out of the $3 bin. Or we're not going to buy any toys today. But when we leave, we're going to go to the park. Make the store experience more fun by including your child in the process. They can be in charge of putting items in the shopping cart. For example, Benavides says she gives her 6-year-old the shopping list and lets her cross off items as they go. These kind of interactions help your child feel valued.